I just want you to know again. So this is about telling you how MSNBC is still lying. NBC News is lying to people at the behest of Big Pharma to scare them about COVID. Why? Who knows? Some people think it's so that to satisfy their Big Pharma advertisers. I don't know. Is that what you think? Who knows? For children without a serious medical condition, the danger of severe COVID is so low as to be difficult to quantify. The risk of long COVID among children, a source of fear among many parents, is also very low. So I just want to let you know, this was before Omicron. This is during Delta, which was a much more severe virus. And now Omicron is a much less severe version of that same virus. According to the CDC, among children, the mortality risk from COVID-19 is actually lower than from the flu. So keep that in mind. Here's a tweet from MSNBC. With the Omicron variant, kids are either going to get the vaccine or they're likely to get a serious condition of Omicron. They tweeted that out. That's medical misinformation. They are not likely to get a serious condition. I just showed you that they are unbelievably unlikely to get a serious condition. They say the exact opposite. And that tweet was up. Well, I retweeted it. And I said, this is 100% COVID misinformation, but it's a big lie pharma like, so it will never be censored, but will be promoted. MSNBC and CNN have been the biggest spreaders of misinformation, COVID and otherwise, not podcasters. Kids are at less risk from COVID than the flu. They're liars. And they are liars.
I hardly think Microsoft NBC is going to lie on.
So whenever the establishment news covers COVID on YouTube, they used to get ratioed. So here's NBC News trying to scare you about your kids and COVID. It said parents are hesitant to give their kids COVID vaccine. How safe is it? Parents are not giving their kids the vaccine. Nationwide, about 23%. Last time I checked, you could please double check me on these numbers. Last time I checked, 23% of children, I think between 5 and 11, were vaccinated. So they're not getting their kids vaccinated, so they keep doing stuff like this to scare people about COVID, and then they get ratioed. So when they used to have a dislike button on YouTube, which they took away to protect their advertisers like Big Pharma, not because they wanted to protect creators, they took this away, but when they didn't, it was 5,000 dislikes, 600 likes. That's on a regular news item about COVID and vaccines from NBC News. And why did they dislike it? Because watch how they lie. Watch this.
Let's bring in NBC senior medical correspondent, Dr. John Torres. Dr. Torres, good morning to you. As Kathy mentioned, that new poll finds about 2/3 of parents are hesitant to get their kids the shot. What is your advice to alleviate some of their concerns?
And Joe, you're right. There is that hesitancy to get the shot, and it's a hesitancy that parents typically have because they're very protective of their child. A couple of things I tell them is, one, from a community perspective, children right now are 25% of the cases that are out there. That's from a community perspective, but parents are more worried about their own child. So here are some numbers for their child. Last week, 118,000 children ended up with Pfizer. Since the pandemic, over 8,000 have been hospitalized, a third of those in the ICU, and unfortunately, there have been 146,000 deaths, which according to the American Academy of Pediatrics, puts COVID now in the top 10 causes of death for children.
So he's just making that stuff up. So that was all made up, and that's why it got ratioed on on YouTube. And by the way, it won't get censored. It won't get a strike for breaking community guidelines on YouTube. That's only reserved for people like us. So for when we tell the truth. So they'll give me a community guideline strike for telling the truth, but they'll never do that to NBC News for lying. And those are straight up lies. You want to see how much more? Here, it keeps going. Watch how he tries to scare people.
And so I would say, look at those stats, because it's important to understand that if your child gets COVID, that could be devastating with lifelong consequences. And so the vaccine.
He's telling you the exact opposite of what science says. Now, he's just trying to scare you. Here it is. Here's again. You want to see that? You want to get your news about COVID from the establishment news? Sanjay Gupta had to tell Joe Rogan that CNN was lying about ivermectin. Here's Rachel Maddow lying about ivermectin and people taking it and getting poisoned and clogging up emergency rooms. That didn't happen.
Oh, that's the vision loss. Oh, I thought it was blindness. It's vision loss. What does that mean?
Well, where do you see vision loss?
The scariest one I've heard of and seen
is people coming in with vision loss, he said. Yeah, so ironically, ivermectin is a cure for river blindness.
Oh, also, if you people on blood thinners aren't supposed to take it.
I didn't hear that. Where did you hear that?
Somebody I know that was somebody I know whose doctor's in that network and is getting now harassed by California.
So I was given ivermectin in a study. I was in a study because I got injured by the vaccine, and so I was entered. I was given a lot of experimental drugs to see if it worked. They're doing a study right now on ivermectin to see if it treats COVID. We'll have the results in September.
They can't seem to get their hands on it for the study. That's why
they got those vaccines in 3 months, but the ivermectin study is going to take 2 years. Isn't that something? We'll know if ivermectin works or not probably right as this pandemic they declare it over. Here's how Fauci and Collins shut down COVID debate. They worked with the media to trash the Great Barrington Declaration. Huh? What? In public, Anthony Fauci and Francis Collins urge Americans to follow the science. In private, the two sainted public health officials schemed to squash dissenting views from top scientists. So, NBC News still lying. The establishment news, if you're getting your news about COVID from the establishment, you are being lied to and propagandized, and you're ingesting it. That's why people still are angry at the unvaccinated, because they're watching the establishment news and they think if just enough people got vaccinated, we could get rid of the coronavirus. If they would have just got enough people vaccinated, we could have got rid of this pandemic. That was never true. It's never going to be true. It's not true now. It's a lie, and it's given to you by the oligarchy who was in the pocket of Big Pharma. So you blame your neighbor instead of the establishment. That's what's happening. Okay, so again, still doing it. NBC News still lying. By the way, they took down that. Let me see. Did I have a piece? No, they did. They took down their post. So they finally took that down. The tweet. They took, so when I tweeted that out, this is 100% medical. So they finally took it down. They who did? Not Twitter. Not Twitter. Twitter didn't take it down. Twitter will never cross an establishment news organization unless it's the New York Post talking about Hunter Biden. So they didn't. MSNBC took that tweet down. I wonder why. And all the people who tweeted at me about it, they never apologized. People
don't know still.
What's that?
They probably still don't know. They don't follow up on that stuff.
They don't. Yeah, they don't know that tweet got deleted. That I was right about it. We're doing live stand-up comedy in Los Angeles on February 12th, February 18th. February 20th, we're in Philadelphia. We just added a second show, and back on February 26th here in Los Angeles. It's our intimate 60-seat theater. Go to jimmydorecomedy.com for a link. And then while you're there, you can also become a premium member, get access to all our stuff.